Welcome back everyone. Hi, if you're new, I'm Tori, and today we are going to be doing another year of the book Oscars. If you guys are new here, this video is not my best books of 2023. That video is going to be dropping on Friday, that full top 10 list. But I do like to do this kind of Oscar style video because it lets me celebrate different elements of, things that I've really loved in some of the books that I've read this year. So maybe the book as a whole is not my favorite of the year when it stacks up against my top 10, but maybe I really love the setting, or maybe I really loved one of the supporting characters. Maybe I love the entire cast. We have 11 Oscar style categories to go through. I hope you guys enjoy this video. Let's get into it. Let's start things off with Best Supporting Actress. I'm gonna give this award to Yennefer from the Witcher series. Yennefer technically is one of the main characters of the series, so I really could have put her like in Best Actress, but I still kind of think of Geralt as like the main character, even though we're following different characters over the course of the series so far. But there is something about Yennefer that just feels like such a solid rock for this entire series thus far. I love her character, and coming into the book series for the first time this year, I had to kind of separate the image I already had of Yennefer from the video games because I love The Witcher 3, so had to kind of set that aside and get to know the book version of Yennefer, and I loved it. I think Yennefer is such a fantastic character. I think she brings a great balance to Geralt and Ciri. She has this really sharp sarcasm to her that I love, but Yennefer also has a really dark past from the books that I've read thus far in the Witcher series. I cannot wait to see more of her character when I continue on with The Witcher in 2024, but she is by far just one of my favorite characters this year and definitely one of my favorite female characters of 2023. The next category is Best Supporting Actor, and I'm gonna give this category to Jean from The Lies of Locke Lamora by Scott Lynch. Jean is an amazing character. He is like the definition of a ride or die. Jean and Locke are like the peanut butter and jelly, but again, what I love about that duo is that kind of ride or die nature, that brotherly love, that feeling that you just know that they will do anything for each other. Especially Jean will do anything for Locke. And the way these two met when they were children, when Jean first came into the Gentleman Bastards, to how their relationship evolved over the years, that's character growth. When I think of supporting characters, I think of characters who are that anchor for our main character and just kind of keep them grounded, keep them safe, keep them, just kind of go along with their antics, but still are kind of like the voice of reason and common sense and things like that. He is willing to go along with the things that Locke does, but at the same time, he kind of has his eye on the entire situation, and he is going to be there to protect Locke at all costs. And I love it. I love that brotherly relationship that the two of them have, and I just think they are a fantastic duo. So this award could not go to anybody except Jean. The next category is Best Cinematography, and I am going to give this one to The Scourge Between Stars by Ness Brown. I've talked about this a little more recently too, but this is a book I read earlier this year that has really been sticking with me over the course of 2023. This is a sci-fi horror novella, and I think Ness Brown has just created the perfect creepy, tense, horrific atmosphere. I've said this before as well, but I just cannot wait to see what Ness Brown does next. I really hope it's something in the sci-fi genre because just the atmosphere of this one alone, and just again all of that creepy tension, I think is just so perfectly done over the course of this novella. If you're unfamiliar, our main character Jacqueline is an interim captain on this ship, and the ship has left a failed colony, and they're all just trying to get back to Earth. Jacqueline, she is stressed out. She is trying to keep her people safe, but tensions are running high. Starvation is a real possibility, and it feels like everything that can go wrong is going wrong. And then on top of all of that, this alien terror begins to start really wreaking havoc on the ship and its people, and that just adds an entire new level of intensity to the stress that's already on Jacqueline's shoulders. I thought the atmosphere of this was incredibly tense and so well done and just really vivid. So yeah, this is definitely getting the award for Best Cinematography of 2023. The next category is Best Original Screenplay, and I'm giving this award to Lone Women by Victor LaValle. Of the work that I've read from Victor LaValle, I still love The Changeling the most. I think that is just an incredible piece of fantasy horror, and I did enjoy Lone Women, but I do think this is one that still needs a little bit more time to grow on me. I mean, it's Victor LaValle. It's incredibly well written, it's creepy, but there's also so many deep and kind of horrific familial themes in here that I think Victor LaValle does a really interesting job of exploring over the course of this book. This entire book starts with our main character committing a horrific crime, and she flees, and she has nothing except this big steamer trunk that she's carrying around. And eventually our character makes it to Montana, where she lives on this plot of land that she has to, live on and cultivate for a certain period of time before she can prove up and finally own it for herself. And in doing so, we meet a cast of characters that come into her life that live in the surrounding area. And you really see that struggle of her not only trying to survive in the wintertime, but just trying to get acclimated to to this land and her new environment. And while all of this is going on, she still has this massive secret that she's carrying around in this steamer trunk. And as we start to get into the end of this book, everything just goes from 0 to 100 real quick in a very Victor LaValle way. So I did enjoy this overall, and I cannot wait to read more from Victor LaValle in the future. The next category is Best New Author, Debut, or New to Me in 2023. And this award is going to Robert Jackson Bennett. I read Foundryside in 2023. This was my first ever experience with Robert Jackson Bennett's work. And I gotta say, I had a really good time with this book. It was the kind of reading experience where I can definitely see myself really getting along with the rest of Robert Jackson Bennett's work as I continue to move through it. And we have a long journey ahead of us. I'm going to be moving into the second book in the Founders Trilogy, Shorefall, in 2024, and then wrap things up with the third and final book, Lachlan's. And I also have the first book in his other series on my shelf. I think the first book is called City of Stairs, so that's been sitting on my shelf for a while. And I also have an arc of his upcoming book, The Tainted Cup, which I want to get to soon. We definitely have a journey in front of us, but I think it is going to be a great one. Just from what I've read of Foundryside, I keep saying this, I love our main character, Sanchia. I thought she was just so well written. Motivations were strong. And I just love seeing her journey, just even over the course of Foundryside. Even though his main character was extremely strong in Foundryside, I was a little indifferent to the majority of the side characters that we got introduced to. But even to feel that way about the side characters and still come out of Foundryside really enjoying it, I think that is a testament to all the other elements of the book and how strong they were in terms of, you know, the magic system, which I thought was incredibly layered, the world building of Foundryside, and just how the merchant houses and everything were set up. I just had such a fun time. I loved Sanchia's companion and just the way that the story unfolded. I just thought it was all really well fleshed out. So I think Robert Jackson Bennett is an author I'm going to continue to get along with as I progress through his work, because Foundryside was definitely a standout this year. And I think if I had loved the side characters a little bit more than I did, Foundryside would be somewhere in my top 10 best books of the year. But other than that, I think Foundryside is a fantastic read. One I highly recommend if you still haven't picked it up yet. And I can't wait to see how I get on with the rest of his books in 2024. The next category is Best Ensemble Cast. And I am giving this to the cast of Warbreaker by Brandon Sanderson. I did expect to like Warbreaker going into it, but I had such a good time with this book. I think Warbreaker should have been in my best surprises of the year, but oh well. This was so good. The entire cast was so good. I don't even think I've talked about this book yet. I read it for a buddy read that was hosted on Elliot Brooks' channel, like the live show and everything. So I read it for that, and I had such an amazing time with Warbreaker. I'm always a sucker for sibling dynamics in books anyway. The way Ciri and Vivenna are involved in like the scheming and the politics that's going on in this nation in their own ways, I think that is just done so incredibly well. Just the story of Warbreaker is good, but the cast of characters really makes this story shine for me. We have a nation that's been exiled, and two of our characters, Vivenna and Ciri, are the princesses of this exiled nation. And the older one, Vivenna, she's been prepped her whole life to one day go off and marry the god king of their rival nation, Hallandren, I think is how you pronounce it. At the last minute, there's a switch up, and instead of Vivenna going, her younger sister Ciri is sent. Ciri is the one who is just, she's young and she's just been so carefree and just hasn't really had any responsibility. And now she has this big task on her shoulders to go marry this king and have a child with him. And Vivenna, you know, she feels a little slighted by this. And so she goes off thinking she's gonna be able to rescue her sister from this fate and take her place. But things take a turn, and Vivenna gets wrapped up into like the more grungier, kind of darker side of this rival nation, while Ciri is in the castle having to navigate all of these just political schemes and machinations and things like that. It is so good, but the entire cast is incredible. Suze Braun, the God King, Vasher, Lightsong, I love everybody in this book. I had such a great time with Warbreaker, and this cast of characters was just, they were perfect. The next category is Best Book I Haven't Read Yet, and I am giving this award to The Reformatory by Tananarive. I love this category because it really gets me thinking about, you know, what is a book that I just did not get around to reading this year, but if I had read it, I just am confident that I would have absolutely loved it. And I'm confident that that read would have been The Reformatory. This was one of my highly anticipated releases for the second half of this year. The end of year TBR was just a little bit too stacked, and I unfortunately did not get a chance to read The Reformatory, but I just know, like I feel it in my bones that I would have loved this book had I read it this year. Tananarive, I just sound like a broken record. She is such a phenomenal author, and one whose work I just cannot wait to keep reading in the new year. I think this is just going to be a phenomenal piece of horror. Probably might end up being my favorite book by her. So we'll see, but I am just really confident that this one is going to be just a home run for It's Not a Redo. I can't wait to read this in 2024. And thinking about this category for 2023, I was trying to be so careful and just really be as sure as possible about the book I chose for this award, because last year I chose The Bladed Faith by David Dalglish for this category, and we all know how that turned out. But The Reformatory, though, is one that I know it's not going to let me down. The next category is Best Director, and I'm giving this one to Emery Robin for The Stars Undying. I know what you're thinking, because I said at the beginning of this video, none of these books were going to be on my best books of 2023 list. If you've heard me talk about The Stars Undying this year, you know that this was one of my favorite reads of 2023. But there is a book I finished recently that has officially knocked The Stars Undying out of the top 10 best of the year. So now it's making its appearance at the book Oscars instead. This was great, and I'm giving it the Best Director award because it's the kind of book early on where I already knew that Emery Robin was going to be able to stick the landing. I feel like the setup in the world for this story was so huge. We were dealing with an unreliable narrator. There were so many pieces and political scheming and relationship dynamics that just felt kind of all up in the air over the course of this story. From where we started to where we ended up, I think is just incredible direction. So I think Emery Robin did an incredible job of navigating us through a story that was, as complex in politics as this one was. I love The Stars Undying. I really did. If you guys have missed me talking about this one, this is a retelling of the lives of Cleopatra, Julius Caesar, and Mark Antony. And our main character, Altagracia, or just Gracia, she's a twin, and her twin takes control of the throne and their planet when their father dies. And the entire book, our main character is just scheming, doing the most outrageous things, allying herself with a general from a different planet in order to take back what she believes is rightfully hers. I loved it. Now we're gonna wind things down a little bit with the last couple of categories. The next one is Best Actress, and I cannot give this to anybody else except Amari Peters from Amari and the Night Brothers by B.B. Alston. What can you say about Amari at this point? Amari is just such a wonderful character. She is a character that you just are constantly rooting for. You almost feel like some kind of big sister while you're reading it and just like rooting for her, cheering her on. You just get so upset when she's slighted. This was just such a wonderful reading experience. Amari, she is determined and strong-willed. She's not afraid to stand up for herself and for her friends. She exhibits bravery in the most intense situations, and she's not backing down. And I love that about her. She has this incredible sense of right and wrong and just trying to take care of herself and her friends. I love her character. I don't know how else to really explain it. If you guys are unfamiliar, this is actually a middle grade fantasy novel, and Amari's brother Quentin has been missing. People have their own ideas about what exactly happened to Quentin. Some people just think he ran away. Some people think he's just dead. And Amari doesn't have the best school life. She gets teased a lot, and it's even worse now because of the situation surrounding her brother. She comes from a single parent household. Her mother's just trying to make ends meet and keep things running. And one day when Amari gets in trouble at school, the story just takes a bit of a turn, and she gets this invitation to try out for a spot at the Bureau of Supernatural Affairs. From there, her world is just flipped upside down, and she learns that all of these supernatural creatures are real. It all just starts to spiral from there. There's like wizards on the loose. It is so good. I love Amari and the Night Brothers. I love Amari as a character. I will definitely be reading the second book. I'm not sure where it will fit into 2024 just yet, but it's gonna happen. And then last but not least, we have the category for Best Actor, and I am giving this one to Louis from Interview with the Vampire by Anne Rice. This was a recent read for me, and it's still a book that I'm thinking about. Someone commented and said, Louis just has sad boy energy. He really does. Louis, he is just telling the story of his sad and tragic life to this reporter, to this boy, and just recounting all the things that he's been through over the course of his vampire life. And he's this centuries-old vampire and just has so much tragedy and heartbreak and loss, but at the same time he is really grappling with himself, what he is, reflecting on the horrible up and down relationship that he had with the vampire Lestat who turned him into a vampire. And it's just this really long and detailed and long-winded account of his life, and I love it. I think it is so good. I think the way that it's written, I think the way that it's told is just so rich in detail. You feel what he's gone through, you feel for him, but we also start to learn more about this basically existential crisis that he's been having with himself. Even though he is long-winded, I didn't mind hanging in there with him. And even though it happened towards the end of the year, Louis just became an instant, just standout main male character for me in 2023. And then last but not least is Best Picture. And these are gonna be the top 10 books that I read in 2023. And this video is finally coming on Friday. I do this every year and I always say, oh, just wait till the best books of the year video drops and that'll be the best picture. But this year I am just gonna leave you with a little teaser and share with you one of the best books that's gonna be somewhere on the top 10 list. I don't think it's gonna be that much of a surprise because the few times that I've mentioned this book this year, I have just completely been gushing about it. But one of the books that's gonna pop up on the best books of the year list on Friday is The Helm of Midnight by Marina Lostetter. And this is the first book in the 5 Penalty series. And we're gonna talk more about it on Friday. I'm not gonna tell you where it's gonna pop up on the list, but it's definitely gonna be there. It was just an incredible read and one of the best of the year. So I will leave you with that little teaser. There's so much more to come on Friday. It's definitely gonna be worth the wait. It's a great top 10. And so I hope to see you for that video. Thank you so much for watching this one. I really appreciate it. Let me know some books that you read this year that you would put in the categories I mentioned. And yeah, I will see you in a couple of days for the best books of 2023. Take care.